sembra dire buonasera, la vecchia luna che sul Mediterraneo appare.
Welcome back to Smoke and Sassy. I keep getting asked, when am I going to make pasta? So the answer is today we're going to make pasta.
Sounds great.
Yeah. And you know, guys, I'm not going to tell you that we're authentic Italian cooks, but my grandparents are from Italy. They're from the Calabria region. And then AJ, of course, my grandmother is his great-grandmother, but on your other side...
They're from Abruzzi. Yeah.
So you have two authentic Italians making homemade pasta. So let's get started.
Let's get started. What's with the hat?
Oh, it's because I'm on vacation in Italy.
Oh, okay. That works.
I know, that's why I'm the sassy one, right?
It's a lot cheaper than flying to Italy. That's right.
Yeah. And guys, again, don't be intimidated by the idea of making pasta, right? I've even made it in a competition at the fair, and the judges were like, oh my gosh, isn't this really hard to do? And the answer is, I'll pretend like it is if it gives me more points, right? So, I'm just adding 2 cups of flour to my KitchenAid. If you don't have a KitchenAid, just put it on your cutting board, and you can make the pasta dough that way. So it's not like you have to have a fancy piece of equipment to make pasta. I'm just going to do a couple of quick chugs of salt. The idea behind that is I don't like a lot of salt in my pasta, and I'm going to cook it in salted water anyway, so I don't need to worry too much about it. I'm also going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now, I watch cooking shows the way people watch sports, and it turns out that my sister does it the same way. So, when we were watching a Master Chef, there was a contestant that was crying because their pasta dough was too, I don't remember now if it was too dry or too wet. And as I'm watching that, my thing is, just add water or just add flour. So pasta dough is really, really forgiving. So again, I just don't want you to be intimidated at all. I'm gonna add 3 whole eggs to my dough, but I'm gonna do it one at a time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this mixing, and then I'll add an egg, add an egg, add an egg, and then I'm gonna add 1 extra egg yolk. By adding an extra egg yolk and not the whole egg, you're going to get a richer, creamier pasta. If you want a more pliable pasta, then you can go ahead and add the whole egg. Okay, let me go ahead and get this started. It's going to be loud, so we'll be back in just a second. So the KitchenAid does a pretty good job, but I always want to knead it just a little bit more afterwards. The reason that we knead the dough, whether it's bread or flour or whatever, is it helps to release that gluten. That's so good, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm really sorry if you are gluten intolerant, because I cannot imagine life without pasta. But one of the things that you're going to be able to see here is that it's actually faster and cheaper to make your own pasta dough than it is to run to the store and get it. So it's really worth just spending a little bit of time and making your own. What I am going to do now, though, is I'm going to break it into 2 balls. And I don't always do this if I'm in a hurry, but I'm going to show you how to make pesto while the dough rests. So I'm going to do the 2 balls. I'm going to wrap it in some plastic wrap, and then I will show you what we're going to do to make the spaghetti.
So now it's time for the pesto?
Yeah, so while that dough's resting, let's make some pesto.
I love pesto.
Oh, I do too. And you know what? Here's the thing about pesto is you can do almost anything with it.
Yeah.
I like to buy nice, healthy basil plants from the store and use that as much as I can. Now, I think you've even mentioned that these are probably grown to die.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but it's a good rumor to start, I guess.
Yeah, so we're not starting a rumor, but You know, these plants are beautiful. They don't tend to last real long. So if your plant's dying, pesto is a great opportunity as well. All I did here was I put in some basil, fresh basil leaves, and a little bit of Italian parsley because I love Italian parsley. I'm not going to add nuts to my pesto. I know most people do, but I'm not. I think it's still amazing. Okay, I'm not being sponsored by anybody, but I am going to tell you, as we do most of our cooking, we talk a lot about the fact that you don't need special equipment. You don't need special equipment. You don't need special equipment to make pesto. You absolutely can chop everything by hand. But one piece of kitchen product that I'm absolutely going to suggest that you get is one of these little mini choppers. I use mine all the time, and it's fast, it's easy, it's portable, and cheap. So if you wanted to know like what one of my top things to have in the kitchen is this. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and get these chopping. Again, I think that we eat with our sense of smell first. This is absolutely amazing. And you can see that. Now what I'm going to do though is I'm going to, usually you would add olive oil, but I actually have made myself a little olive oil, lemon, onion marinade. So I'm just going to add a titch of that into this. Probably a little bit more than a titch. Okay. Then taste it. I'm going to need salt. And if you are using just plain olive oil, you absolutely are going to want to add salt anyway. But this is really your pesto. You can make it however you want. I made a pesto one time with wasabi peas. I guess technically people might say it's not a pesto, but it looked like one. You know, and as you're thinking about this, you're going to add and adjust to taste and to look. So you want it the consistency that you want it. We should have a contest one day, which is see who can spot Bimbo the most in a cooking video.
He likes making a special appearance, that's for sure.
Yeah. Whoops. That's good. We're going to use this with our pasta here in just a second. All right, the dough is nice and rested. So now we're going to go ahead and we are going to start to roll out the dough. Again, there's so many ways to do this, and I don't want you to be intimidated. My son, he actually uses a rolling pin to roll his dough out, and then he'll hand cut it. It makes for a thicker pasta. A lot of restaurants sell it. It's delicious. For today though, we're going to use the KitchenAid to do the rolling. Once I get started on the rolling, again, it's going to be really loud. So a couple of things I want to just mention. So we have a difference of opinion in our family as to how many times the dough should go through the roller. So I'm going to let you kind of make your own decision as you play with it. I use it on the 0 setting until it looks pretty decent, and then I only run it through 2 times on each speed. So if you do have one of these, you probably know you start on 0 and then you incrementally move to a 1, to a 2, to a 3, to a 4. I'm only going to go up to a 6. Again, the thinner it is, the thinner your pasta is going to be, so that's totally up to you. And I am going to get started. Okay, get ready for some noise. This is really where you're going to start to see if your dough is of the right consistency. If your dough is going to start to tear, it means it's too wet. If it won't go through and it just crumbles, it's too dry. Again, if it's too dry, add a little bit of water. If it's too wet, like mine is, I'm gonna add just a little bit of flour to it. But that's why that 0 setting is so helpful, because it really gives me an idea of what I need to do to adjust my dough. Oops, mine just ripped a little bit. And again, the nice thing about pasta is it is so forgiving. You don't need Gordon Ramsay yelling at you. It's just very fun and very forgiving. All right, so now we're just gonna cut our dough. Again, we're gonna use the KitchenAid to do this. You don't need to do it, cut it by hand. If you want. I cut my dough into a piece as long as I wanted for my noodles, right? I don't want like really long noodles, so I'm just gonna cut them a little bit shorter. I actually have a pasta drying rack, but I forgot to bring it today, so I'm not gonna use it. But look how beautiful that is. The other thing about pasta, when you make it from scratch like this, is it really cooks fast. So when you do it, when you do it, you're going to want to watch it 3 or 4 minutes. You're gonna yank it out of that pot and you're gonna be so happy. Okay, we'll be back in just a little bit for a food tasting. All right, so here's our finished product. It took maybe 3 minutes to boil the pasta in the boiling water, so watch it, it's fast like I said. We're going to be using the pesto sauce for our sauce. Remember, not all Italian food has to be heavy with a heavy tomato sauce and a ton of cheese, but I love that kind as well. So, you know, if that's what you want to go with, you know, you do you. Matter of fact, usually I do use a tomato sauce. So, AJ, do you want to taste?
Yeah, I definitely want to taste.
Okay. Okay, let's taste, AJ.
All right, that looks great.
Yeah. I did add an extra squeeze of lemon juice over the top.
That is really good.
Oh my gosh.
That is really good.
Great. Those noodles, doesn't it make a difference?
Sure does.
So folks, every Thursday we want to see you and you want to see us, right? So subscribe, share, check out our Facebook page, check out our Instagram page, share.
Sure, we'll see you next Thursday.
And as always, taste, savor, and enjoy. I'm gonna eat some more.